Yo, people, what we saying, what we spraying, back again with another about the fan. And today, we've managed to find a Tottenham fan. Usually one of the enemies, but not today. Today, we're just here to talk a bit about his journey, and that is Sava. But before we get into any of that, make sure you're liking the video. Quick, fast, make sure you're subscribing to the channel and also subscribing to Sava's channels as well. They are both in the title. Don't be frauds. Go and show him love. Support him where he has chosen to support us as well. Now, those of you that have been here before, you may not know, unfortunately, I cannot interact with the chat due to the structure of the show. This will at some point be put on Spotify as a podcast. What makes sense in a live stream will not make sense to all the people listening back on Spotify. So strap in, enjoy the show. Any questions that you have for Sava, send them in as a super chat, and he will answer all and any at the end of the show. Now, we got Titan on. I won't lie, we got one of the YouTube Titans. I won't lie, I used to watch Sava for ages before I even thought about becoming a YouTuber. He's arguably one of the most known and biggest Tottenham YouTubers in the YouTube space. He is grinding. When I'm up doing those early morning streams, I see Sava live. I see Sava all live. And just recently, he did a 24-hour stream, which I think is absolutely insane. For all the waves that he's making, for all the hard work he's putting in, make sure you lot are showing him his love and his flowers. Hey, Sava, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm not so sure about one of the biggest ones, but yeah, I do work hard. I'll give myself that. Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. And, obviously, thanks for, giving the time to come on board and doing About the Fam. We appreciate it. But just, because this is going to be put out as a podcast and, people don't always listen to the end. Should people wish to follow you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm guessing if you're a Spurs fan, it's Football Heritage TV. If you're not a Spurs fan, and for my views on everything else other than Spurs and videos, it will be FHTVplus. So new channel, only been going for a month now, but yeah, grinding hooks. I'm grinding.
Yeah, and it is a grind. It is a major grind. So, hey, props to you for setting up something new, and hopefully, the channel that's not so Spurs orientated, maybe you're a little less stressed, a little less stressed.
You know what? Doing videos on the second channel is like fun because I'm talking about football. I'm not talking about, like, if I do a video about Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool, I'm not invested. Like, I've given my opinion, but I'm not like, oh my God, we lost or they lost. It's good fun, man. It's good fun.
Enjoy it. No, man. Well, actually, yeah, I find that when I talk about other teams, it's a lot less stressful. So I definitely hear the sentiment. But look, yeah, because you are a Spurs fan, yeah, and you've seen many generations of the North London rivalry, yeah, London rivalry. From your perspective, because I know from my perspective, but it's always good to hear from the other side. What does the rivalry mean to you, and what era of, I guess, the North London rivalry has been the most exciting to you?
Oh, what a question to start with. Yeah, listen, first of all, I'll say I don't think the rivalry is what it was. I don't. I feel like, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, it just feels like within our fan base, certainly, there seems to be a lot more ag with Chelsea and West Ham for some reason. Many might disagree with me, but that's just how I've felt over the years. Look, I think that, I'm quite a bit older than some fans on YouTube, but I remember when it was a really good rivalry. Like, I remember when it was fun and it was banter, and then it's kind of, as Spurs drifted away, Arsenal were winning titles when I was growing up. They were winning lots of trophies. As Spurs kind of got left behind, it sort of felt like, yeah, well, there are rivals by location and geography, but there's no rivalry there in terms of, oh, it could be us or them for a title or for a trophy. And so I think that's kind of diminished it a little bit. But for me, selfishly, in terms of what was the best rivalry, would be early 90s. I know many people probably weren't born then. Early 90s when we had the Gazzas and the Linekers. And you know, I was at Wembley when we beat you 3-1 in the FA Cup semi-final, and Gazza scored an absolutely stunning free kick. And then it would be all the way fast forward to more recent times when it was under Pochettino. I felt like under Pochettino and Harry Redknapp, it felt like we had just started to turn. I think you had just started to come this way a bit after Wenger's dominance. We'd started to go that way for a bit with Harry Redknapp, then Pochettino. But we always stopped there. We never quite go to there. That was good. There was some really good games. I think we won a few, you won a few. So yeah, I would say that would be the best. When we had the Gareth Bale's example, and you know, I know you didn't want to play against Gareth Bale each week. So those days I would say would be the best for me.
And what you know, what do you make of St. Totteram's Day? What do you actually make of it?
You're doing me dirty here. Look, it's the worst case scenario, isn't it? Yeah. That your rivals come and win the league title, your ground. And I remember the day well, and it was just sort of like, I remember someone said to me on that day, we're never going to live this down. Like this is one of those things you don't live down, you don't forget. You know, it's the equivalent of, you know, if Spurs or Arsenal played each other in a European final, an FA Cup final, a League Cup final, it doesn't matter whatever happens for years after that. The bragging right is going to be, we beat you in that final. And that's essentially what you lot did at our ground. You were superior to us at that time. It was what, the Omris, the Vieiras, the Pires and all of them. I think was it Sol Campbell and all of them lot. So yeah, listen, it wasn't that we were like under any illusion that you lot weren't better than us, but coming to our ground, winning, it was tough. And I've got Arsenal fans now that it doesn't matter what we debate. they just want to say, we won the league at your ground. It's like, oh shit, I've got no comeback to that, man. What can I say? What can I say? So yeah, it was an awful day in Spurs history. It really was.
Yeah, no, hey, it's a lot better day for me, and I appreciate on the other side, obviously it's not as good. I actually grew up like, maybe you could probably, well, actually you'd have to be very strong to throw a stone from where I used to live to where the Tottenham ground was, but it was like a 10-minute walk. So I've always kind of been like very, very much absorbed in the Tottenham Arsenal rivalry. My grandma actually lived on the road of the stadium. So whenever I was there and you lot were playing, I would always see you lot charging down it's crazy. Like I've never seen.
So you should have been a Spurs fan, basically, is what you're saying. You should have been a Spurs fan.
Well, all of the family was Arsenal fans. It just so happened that they managed to be located right by the stadium. So hey, maybe there's an alternate universe where I'm a Spurs fan. Maybe you're an Arsenal fan in that alternate universe, and we're having this conversation from a completely different frame. So yeah. So look, I like to do like a what if kind of scenario for these type of shows. So it's purely hypothetical, and go wild with it, as wild as you want to go with it. So look, the season's ended now. You know, Tottenham finished 16th and went trophyless again. Yeah, there was riots, absolute chaos. The fans, they've had enough. Tottenham ended up being bought out by a Qatar group and have replaced Daniel Levy with you, Sava. Yeah. What do you do in the summer to give Spurs the best chance at finally achieving something and ending your trophy drought?
So the board appoint me as manager is what we're saying, or as chairman, or what am I going in as? I'm going as chairman.
Yeah, you're the leader of it all.
I think the first thing I'd want to do is I'd want to implement some sort of identity at Tottenham Hotspur. I don't feel we've had an identity for many, many, many years. I think everything we've done has been really half-hearted. So the first thing I would do is implement an identity. I'd want to go out there as the chairman. I'd want to get an up-and-coming manager, someone who's young, hungry, somebody who's been about for a bit, but not so long that they can't adapt, they can't develop, they can't be molded. And somebody that gets it. I want someone that lives it, breathes it, eats it. I want somebody that's sensible with it. And I want someone that comes in and really buys into the fans, really buys into the fact that we have been so many years without a trophy, that we have been so many years, either being absolutely terrible or nearly men. I'd want to implement that immediately, and I'd want to buy a certain caliber of footballer as well. I'm not just saying, oh my God, let me go and get the Lionel Messis and the Kevin De Bruyne's. And I'm just talking about, I want to bring people in that want to play for the club. I want to bring in men. I don't want to bring in prima donnas. I want to bring in men that want to die for the cause, that want to put their bodies on the line like the old days. So for me, I know it's probably a bit of a wishy-washy answer, but we've got so many years now without really being anything. Yeah. We've got fans that, I get it when we go on panel shows and people want to brag about Spurs this, Spurs that, but we're perennial underachievers. We are. We've got the best stadium in the country by a mile, right? We've got some of the best training ground facilities in Europe. Yeah. We charge the highest or second highest ticket prices in Europe. Our shirts are like £125 a pop. It's all of these things. And I think give back, give something back. We've been very patient. We had to, we had the whole moving from, I know it's the same site, but White Hart Lane to, I call the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium White Hart Lane, so it sounds weird. But, we've moved from White Hart Lane to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, had a couple of years in Wembley, and we were promised things. We were promised we're gonna compete. We're gonna use this financial muscle to compete with Arsenal, with Liverpool, with Chelsea, with City. And that hasn't come to fruition. So I would want to make sure as chairman that I'm upholding that promise. I'm upholding that. I'm doing what I can. I'm leaving no stone unturned. And the biggest thing I'd do, sorry, that's quite a long-winded answer. The biggest thing that I would do is I would want to create a forum where we interact with the fans. Because what Daniel Levy's been terrible at is he leaves us to our own devices in terms of we all think we know what the project is. We all think we know what the goal is, what is the end goal. But realistically, we've never been told. The only time we were told anything, believe it or not, was 24 years ago when he took over the club, him and Enoch. And he actually said something to the effect of, we're not here for the football, we're here for the money. It was kind of like they're there for financial reasons. So I'd want that message to be clear that, hey, once a month we have a forum with fans, not just the fans that agree with us, because that's what they're very good at. Yeah. People like me, Hooks, I don't get invited to fan forums because I'd ask a proper question, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and go, right, I'm going to be asking the questions of, hang on, Daniel. Hang on, we move stadiums. You're charging us 90 quid a ticket or whatever it is. You're buying 18-year-olds every summer. Why didn't we stay at White Hart Lane? So that's what I would be wanting to bring as chairman. And trophies. Trophies.
Yeah, trophy. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, trophies.
Don't forget that. Trophies.
The aim of the game. So, do you know what? You said, so 24 years ago, Levy, Enoch, they kind of said to the effect that they're here for is money. And I mean, it's kind of similar because obviously Stan Kroenke at Arsenal said something very similar. He said he's not here to win trophies. So it's kind of our clubs are actually very similar. So like when this was first said, I appreciate you was a lot younger than what you are now, 24 years younger. Maybe you had a different view on football, but why has there been like these kind of 24 years of believing something may change when at the very beginning you was kind of told like clearly like we're here to generate money? Like why do you think that's happened?
I tell you what, that's a really good question. Look, I fully remember. I've got the fortune, the misfortune. Maybe I'm 42 now, so I remember. 24 years ago, I was still of an age where I knew what was going on and everything. Do you know what? I think it varies depending on who you are as a supporter. So there's been many that have been very harsh critics of Levy and ENIC, because we always talk about Daniel Levy, but Daniel Levy is an ENIC. Daniel Levy now owns 29% of ENIC, but he hasn't always. So before it was Joe Lewis, who was the owner of the ENIC group, billionaire, lives in Barbados, doing his thing, avoiding tax, all that kind of stuff. I think he was in court last year for tax evasion or something. But anyway, I'm sure he got off it with his lawyers. But I think the problem is there were some of us that caught it early. So for example, I've been Levy and ENIC out, right, since October 2007, right?
Oh, wow.
Now let that sink in. We're in 2025, right? October 2007, they essentially sacked Martin Jol, who was the manager of Spurs at the time, a really popular manager. We called him the head coach, really gruff Dutch voice. Came in, did a really good job for us. Basically, we were all sitting there at half time of a European game. I think it was Tafe at the time. We're sitting there half time, and the rumors started going around the stadium that Martin Jol's been sacked. And we're all going, well, what do you mean he's there? He's on the touchline. What do you mean he's been sacked? And then we found out that, indeed, he had been sacked and the news had been leaked during the game. And I went, nah, that's not right. These owners aren't for me. And ever since that day, I've been leaving ENIC out. Now, there are many that didn't at that point. They wanted to see what happened. And there were some decent times. I think like 2 years later, we won. A year and a half later, whatever, we won the League Cup, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is going to be great!" And then we sacked that manager after 8 games. Then we had a period where it was quite good, and I think that kind of took the attention away from them hooks. So we had 4 years under Harry Redknapp where even teams who hated Spurs admitted that, hang on, Spurs are quite good. Spurs play good football. Now, before I know anyone would be tempted to say, and I know if we was on a panel show, Hooks, you would be saying it right now. Yeah, but what did you win? But under that 4 years with Harry Redknapp, he took us from bottom of the table to 8th in his first season, right? He came in after 8 games. We had no wins. He took us to 8th. Second season, he took us to 4th, which was Champions League, first time. He also developed Gareth Bale into what Gareth Bale was, from a left back to obviously Gareth Bale. He also moved Luka Modric into the middle of the park, and we all know what's happened with Luka Modric. He was bringing in people like Scott Parker, bringing in players like bringing in players like Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Keane, Peter Crouch, like players that we all identified with, and of course Nico Kranjčar, who obviously everyone knows about, his favourite Nico. And then after that, we had couple of barren years, and then we had the Poch for 5 or 6 years. And when you take that 10 to 12 year chunk, it was kind of like some really good times in there. And I think everyone forgot. I think everyone kind of forgot of, hang on, these owners don't actually seem to care. In the middle of that 10 to 12 year chunk was the news that we were moving stadium. And this is where Levy and ENIC started talking about, we are going to compete. We are going to do this. We are going to do that. Cynical fans, or what gets called as negative, me, I was like, this isn't going to change it. Like, do you truly believe that they're building a £1 billion stadium so that they can then go and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions and pay top wages and compete with Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, City? Most of the fan base believed it. They believed it. We've now been in the stadium 5 years. We're signing kids every window, and still people are going, yeah, but You know, it's difficult to compete. You're like, well, okay, well, if it's difficult to compete, why did we move to this new stadium? Why have we spent £1 billion? Look at the revenue these owners are making, right? With concerts, NFL. Look at the deal we've got with NFL. The deal we've got with DAZN for the boxing. We've got a go-kart track underneath the pitch. We've got you know, everything. Every week there's an announcement. Spurs have got we got a paint partnership with Dulux. I'm a football fan. I don't care. I don't care which paint sponsors Tottenham Hotspur. What we want is the announcements that are Tottenham have just gone and signed, boom, that level of player. And you go, oh, it hooks never comes. So long-winded way of saying some fans don't want to believe it. Other fans saw it many years ago. And a lot of fans have transitioned from Levy and ENIC in to Levy and ENIC out. Hence the protests recently. So, yeah, it's a complicated relationship we all have with our owners. It's complicated.
I know all too well. And, you know, obviously, before we go into it, there is something that I think would be good to get your opinion on. So you referred to as quite negative fan. Now, the whole negative, positive, you know, in my world, they're called top gooners. I don't know what they're called in the Tottenham world, but I actually never heard any of this until I started paying attention to football online. So I don't ever remember, not once, like throughout my whole life, whether it was maybe primary school, it makes sense, right? But like secondary school, going through sixth form, going through university, going through like my early to like late 20s, I had never experienced like being called a negative or a positive fan. It was always just about expressing your opinion on your club or players at your club or manager at your club, and then you would have a discussion, you know, whether it's like with your friends or with your family, or I don't know, maybe you go to the pub like before a game, or maybe you just go to the pub because you know you like to drink and you like to socialize, and maybe you watch games at the pub or whatever. The conversations were never like crazily polarized. Like you was never put into like a box for your opinions. Like, what do you actually make of like people that, because you see, I know you see, I've seen it when I've been on your channel, like people will sit in your channel, oh, you're negative. And I've seen it all the way when I used to watch you on like other channels as well, like a few years ago, people are like, oh, negative. And it's like, the moment, this is the way that I see it, the moment that someone paints you with a brush, it immediately discredits everything that you say because they just assume that you're coming from one angle.
That's it.
How does that feel? Like, what does it feel like being labeled as like one of the negative fans in your fan base?
I mean, look, I find it really interesting because the word negative is normally associated when you disagree with someone, right?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter if my opinion is right. If it's not the opinion someone else wants to hear, it's negative. So, for example, when I turn around, and you know, I mean, Hooks, you work with me every week on the collective. When I turn around and go, this is the worst Spurs manager I've ever seen in Ange Postecoglou, I back it up with facts and evidence. Yeah, but you're negative. Yeah, but how can I be? I'm backing it up with all of these results, with my eyes, everything that says I've been correct. No, but you're negative. Sure. So now let's flip that. Let's say I turn around and go, do you know what? I love Ange Postecoglou. What a manager. Don't worry that he's 14th in the table. Don't worry that we've lost 15 league games in 29. Now I'm positive. Positive about what? So my positive opinion that he's wrong is positive, and that's what makes a lot of people happy. So that's why a lot of channels on in the world of YouTube and online is, if you are if you are seen as a positive fan, if you go with the flow, and there's many, I'm not going to call out names, but there's many YouTubers who I see them. What they do is they put their feelers out on X and Instagram, etc. What do you all think about this? And depending on what the answer is, they'll make a video based on that, and their feelings change.
Yeah.
My feelings don't change, Hooks. I've got my opinion. I will change my opinion when my eyes tell me something on the pitch is changing.
Yeah.
People don't like that. People don't want that. People use phrases to me like, you're a fake fan. I love that. I mean, a fake fan. I went to my first game in 1984. Now, bearing in mind, I was only 2 and I was on my uncle's shoulders, but 1984, right? Fake fan here, right? Fake fan. You're fake. You're negative. You're glass half empty. Why? Why? I did my show yesterday. Let's use an example, a live example. I did a watch along before for Tottenham Hotspur versus Fulham yesterday, Craven Cottage. I turned around and I said, look, my heart is telling me 2-2. My head is telling me 2-0 to Fulham. Oh, you're negative. Be more positive. Sure. But what happened? Spurs lost 2-0. Not because of my negative prediction, but because I try to talk about football without the emotion. I tried, plenty of emotion, but without the bias.
Yeah.
And people don't want that. People want a football fan that turns around and says, we're amazing. We're the best. We can't do any wrong. The manager's great. This striker's great. This goalie's great. That's fine. But what I want to know is, I've got loads of people who come in my chat and go, you need to apologize for this if you get it wrong. And you need to apologize for that. Cool. Imagine if I started asking for apologies on how wrong all these people have been about Tottenham over the years, or Postecoglou over the years. Right. And I like to think I'm at that age, Hooks, where I don't subscribe to this, let's use a player as an example.
Yeah.
Just because a player signs for Tottenham doesn't mean my opinion of them changes. Right. Yeah, they're Tottenham. I get behind them, support them. But I'll use Solanke as an example. I've always said the same thing about Solanke. He's an okay striker. He's all right. He works hard. He's honest. He does a job. He'll get you 13, 14 goals most seasons, probably. But I don't think he's a top striker. As soon as he signs for Spurs, you've got all the videos coming out. Why Solanke is perfect for Spurs. Why he's perfect for Ange Ball. I've not changed my mind. He's okay. He's okay. And what you've seen from him this season, he's okay. Right. So there's just one example. And you're right. When, I won't give Daniel Levy-Enoch any money anymore. But when I did, I used to always go down there, a couple of hours in the pub, and you used to have these conversations face to face. And if me and you were down the pub and I'm going, I can't stand Ange Postecoglou, and you're going, oh, no, he's brilliant. We go, no, but never would it descend into, see you're really negative. Go and support them down. Online, anyone can say what they want. They say what they want, and people believe it. People won't even listen to my opinion because they've heard I'm negative.
Yeah.
Right? People, and then when I do predict Spurs to win a game and they lose, no one turns around and says, you got that wrong. But they do if I predict Spurs to win, Spurs to lose and they win.
Yeah.
So look, man, it is what it is. I think there's a lot of people that are very scared of not being liked. They're very scared of having their real football opinion. And there's only 3 or 4 Spurs YouTubers who I truly, that's probably too low, but who I really, truly respect their opinion when they go on camera.
Yeah.
There's people I speak to, Hooks, where if I'm speaking to them on WhatsApp, I know exactly what their real opinion is. And as soon as their camera goes on, I'm like, it's not what you think. You've not, that's not what you're like. What you'll get with me, Hooks, you're in WhatsApp groups with me. Yeah. What I say on camera, I'm saying off camera, right? Yeah. I won't lie to please you, to please them. If people want that real content, cool, I'm here. If they don't, I guess they can go and watch some happy clapper channels that just say nice things, man. It is what it is.
Oh no, that's funny. All right, cool. All right, let's get into it then. So tell me about your journey as a Spurs fan. How did it start? Why did you choose Spurs? And maybe regret is too strong of a word, but has there ever been a moment throughout your journey where you questioned your decision of becoming a Spurs fan?
I question it every day. I mean, what are we talking about? I've questioned it every day for 40 years. Look, it was one of those ones where, look, I grew up just with my mum. My mum, my three brothers. Sorry, I'm one of three. I don't have three, but two brothers. And when I was younger, my uncle used to look after us a lot. So my uncle would go to Spurs, big Spurs fan, and he'd take me and I'd sit on his shoulders. And I didn't know, I was 2, like when I first went. And then I started to remember things from when I was about 4, 5, 6, blah, blah. So from then on, it was just Spurs. There was no other, there's no choice. It was just, this is where we go. This is where we go. I support Tottenham Hotspur, from a young age, given these little kits, and it was all right when I was growing up, but we had people like Glenn Hoddle and Chris Waddle. Yeah. And then we had Paul Gascoigne. I'm talking about the greats of English football. Yeah. We were a serial winning cup team in that era. We won the Europa League, or what was the UEFA Cup at the time. We were winning FA Cups, League Cups. We weren't a bad team in the league. And then after the sort of Gazza Lineker era, it all started to go a little bit downhill. And that's when the Premier League started. And it's been tough. It's been tough. Look, you don't regret it because it's your team, right? Yeah. And I often wonder, what would it be like supporting a team that wins every year? Like, would it get are the Man City fans truly grateful? Look at these Man City fans. They've won the title 4 years in a row, Hooks. They have a bad year and they talk about sacking the greatest manager arguably that's ever lived, right? So I look at things and I go, would that be good to do it all the time? I'm not that greedy. I'd just like some success. I'd like to work towards. So I'd like one Premier League title before I die. One, right? So I don't regret it. It is what it is. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've seen some absolute magnificent footballers growing up, and in my 40 years of going to Tottenham, I've seen. Look, I've seen Glenn Hoddle, Chris Waddle. I'm gutted. I only saw the tail end of Hoddle and Waddle. I saw Hoddle, saw Waddle, Clive Allen. I saw Paul Gascoigne, Gary Mabbott. I've seen Mickey Hazard play, top footballer. If anyone's never seen him play, seen Teddy Sheringham, Jurgen Klinsmann, my favourite, David Ginola, my favourite, Ginola. We've seen Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, Dimitar Berbatov, the Jermaine Defoes. We've seen Harry Kane's. I've seen Edgar Davids play for Tottenham Hotspur. Edgar Davids. We've seen Ledley King. Yeah, Jonathan Woodgate. I've been very lucky to see some top players, and I'm aware, I'm always self-conscious that as much as I complain as a Spurs fan, there are people that support lower league clubs that have always been lower league clubs. They go rain nor shine, up in the air football. They've got no comforts in their stadium. They're going down into the National League and then back into the Football League. So I always try and remember that in my time, I've never seen Spurs outside the Premier League. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it is the answer. I regret this manager. I don't regret being a Spurs fan.
Do you know what? Yeah, just in your opinion, because obviously I've spoken to a few fans now, and I mean, there's different ways that you become a fan of your club. Do you feel when it's kind of like when it's passed down as like sort of like heritage, like through family, or my family member was a fan and now I'm now a fan? Do you feel that fan would have a different type of connection with their club because it's kind of the foundations already begin from something positive?
I mean, yes and no. I guess it depends, doesn't it? If you grow up in a household of generations of Spurs fans, and your granddad, who was alive to see Spurs winning league titles in the 60s and European trophies in the 70s and 80s, if that's what you've grown up with and your dad then saw the next layer, then yeah, I guess you've probably got a bit more of an attachment to how things were. And I don't like the word entitlement, but you are probably feeling, well, hang on, we should be there. We deserve this. This is what we grew up with. As opposed to when you're younger, if you haven't got that family connection to it. And, for example, if you're a 10-year-old, 9-year-old kid who grows up in a household that no one likes football and it's not been a thing, and then you go, oh, I'm going to be a Spurs fan. You don't know the history. That's not their fault. They don't know the history. And that's where I think it actually gets bestowed upon people like me. My duty is to help them with that. My duty is to make people remember. A lot gets said whenever you talk about football from when I was growing up. Oh, it's nostalgic. Well, not nostalgic. Why? Why is it nostalgic? These were good times. There were good players. So it's like when I have this argument all the time with Spurs fans. Like I've got Spurs fans telling me like Son is a better footballer than David Ginola, for example. That really grinds my gears. It's like, sorry, did you ever watch Ginola? No. But look at the goals and assists. Like, no. Go and watch my man David Ginola play football. Come back to me and apologize. Like, I just think it's important that people understand whichever background they come from, however they've been inducted into their new team, go and find out what's the history of your football club. It's not difficult to do. It's all there. Who was the manager when you won titles? Who were the top goal scorers of all time? Which players were revered by the fans? And I just find a lot of fans now are lazy, like really, really lazy. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it's an answer to something.
Yeah. No. It did. No, thank you. So obviously, you've experienced quite a bit as a Spurs fan across your journey. What would you say is your most memorable moment? Like a moment, obviously up to date. There may be more things that happen in the future that could change this, but up to date, let's just say, you have grandkids, you're sitting around the fire and, they're like, oh, granddad, what's the thing you remember most about Tottenham? Like, what's that one moment that you will never forget? And can you paint us a picture?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll go with 2 or 3 moments, and for me, it's how football should be. It's the trophies that I've been at the stadium and seen us win it. I was at the 1991 FA Cup final where Gaza. Everyone should know that the famous, the famous injury he picked up that kept him out for like 18 months as he was joining Lazio. Spurs won that in extra time with an own goal by Des Walker. If anyone doesn't know who that is, check him out. What a defender Des Walker was. They used to sing a song called "You'll Never Beat Des Walker." He was that good. So that game was stunning. That was absolutely brilliant. Going 1-0 down to a Stuart Pearce free kick. And if anyone's not seen that, Stuart Pearce just absolute. And then coming back to win, that was great. Then the next one would be the 99 League Cup final, where we were down to 10 men. We weren't really that good on the day, but remember we had 2 players that helped us win a trophy. That was what Sol Campbell and David Ginola. But that was brilliant. It was the old Wembley as well, so there was none of the comfort of this new Wembley. It was brilliant. And then 2008 beating Chelsea, who were miles better than us as a football club at the time, and then winning that final with a Jonathan Woodgate header. Those are the moments where I think as football fans, you have to treasure them. Now, you might get, I don't know if you've done this with any other Spurs fans. I don't know if you've got any of them on yet.
George. Actually, George and Deji. Yeah, I've done George and Deji.
And I wonder, I'm guessing somewhere in their answer might have been the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. See, I'm not putting that in there. And I'll tell you the reason I'm not putting it in there is because we didn't turn up to the final. We just didn't turn up. It wasn't leaving everything out on that pitch and you go, what a final. And we didn't turn up. It wasn't a good final. We lost. And for me, that will never, had we have won it, yes, but we didn't. So that will never usurp the utopia of winning the FA Cup and the League Cup twice. I know people go, it's only the League Cup and FA Cup, but listen, when you're hungry and someone throws you a cracker, that cracker tastes good, right? Eddie Murphy said it. So, look, I loved those days. And from an individual point of view, you know, the Poch era was really good. I really enjoyed being around for that. But not getting over the line is always gonna. I reckon that eats away at him. I reckon that, and I reckon you'll see him as Spurs manager again because of that. So, listen, yeah, the '91 FA Cup final, there was some top players on show. I mean, for anyone of a young age that didn't see Paul Gascoigne play football, go and watch highlights of Paul Gascoigne playing football. He'd be the best player in the Premier League by a country mile. So yeah, I'm going to go with those 3 moments, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And just on the obviously the Champions League final for Spurs, like, I know, see, this is where I get conflicted when I speak to a lot of people about football online, because it's like, unless you get the trophy, it's like nothing else matters. But I'm like, I can only imagine, because obviously I got friends who are Spurs fans, so obviously I'm talking to them. But I can, like, that feeling of being Spurs, obviously no disrespect, like being Spurs and going through that Champions League run that you did, and to top it all off, that mental comeback against Ajax, like the levels of belief that you must have had as a Spurs fan going through that run. I can only, like, in the moment, that feeling is amazing. I know afterwards, in hindsight, you can look back and you can start, I guess, analyzing it from a more pragmatic standpoint, a more logical standpoint, once all the emotions are removed. But in that moment, you must have felt like you was on top of the world as a Spurs fan. What, Spurs have just made it to the Champions League final, like, and against Liverpool. Like, don't get me wrong, if it was like a Real Madrid or maybe a Barca, you might have been like, oh, you know what, I really don't think we can do anything here. But you play Liverpool in the league. You watch them play in the league.
Yeah.
You know that, okay, maybe you're thinking, maybe if we approach it this way, maybe we can nick it. It must have been, I don't know, it must have been glorious.
Yeah, do you know what? It was such a strange time. It was such a strange time because we were actually in the middle of a really bad end of the year. We were brilliant for the first half of that season, and we were top 4 comfortably. And then the back half of that season was just terrible. We didn't do well, but the Champions League run just kept going and going and going. And we beat City. We beat, I mean, on that route, we beat Barca, we beat Dortmund, we beat City. We beat, I can't even think now, we beat Ajax, you know, and we went there. I think it was weird that year. The Champions League was almost like, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after the season finished for some reason. So there was like this really big break between the season ending and the game. Normally it's not, right? Normally it's like, bang, it's there. It's right at the end. And it felt weird because in the lead up to that game, there was a lot of noise about Pochettino might leave, and people are saying he was twerking. I like that way. He was twerking for whoever it was, Man U or Real Madrid or whoever he was being talked about. Then we had the whole thing with Harry Kane's not fit. Is he going to play in the final? And that kind of overtook everything. And then we had the whole dropping Lucas Moura, who obviously was the hero of the Champions League semi-final. And it just felt weird. It felt, I don't know, it didn't feel as euphoric as it should have. And then the actual 90 minutes itself was drab. Like, it was terrible. We went 1-0 down in 1 minute with the penalty for Sissoko, who was pointing out in the air, and he handball. And then for the next 90 minutes, you're thinking, right, we've got loads of time. We didn't get going. We just never got going. And it kind of all sort of, it went from being amazing to really, really mind-numbing very quickly over a few hours. And then that, Poch after that, it just kind of went blah, 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 like that. The team started to be dismantled, and we've never really recovered since. So it was a strange Champions League final.
I know. I mean, in hindsight, looking back now, would you have preferred to have kept Pochettino until the end of that season and seen what he could have possibly done to turn it around?
Do you know what? It's difficult. I'm going to say no. And I'll tell you why, because I'm a big believer that when you've been somewhere for that long and you have that long a period where it's not going well, I think the players stop listening to the message. The manager's message becomes a bit old and stale. Maybe he's not got anything else to say. Now chucking our owners into that as well. And I just felt like it was the right time. So at the time I was like, yeah, look, Potter's gone. This is not good. The poor league form from the year before carried over into the new season. The new signings weren't working. And Ndombele, Lo Celso, Sessegnon, Jack Clark. And it kind of felt like, yeah, he needs to go. If you asked me a different question, like, would I take Poch back right now? 100,000,000,000%, I would take Poch back right now, because what Poch is an absolute world-class coach. Yeah. He makes players better. Now, is Poch that serial winning manager that's going to get you over the line in big moments? We didn't see that. Possibly not. Like, if you look at the finals he had with Chelsea, Spurs. But as a coach, phenomenal. Came in, he upskilled all of our players. He really, really did. And yeah, and it's the complete opposite to the fraud that we've got in charge right now, who hasn't upskilled anyone. So yeah, Poch, he should have gone at the time. But yeah, we all know what's happened since. So, yeah, bad times.
So obviously, I only found out recently. I asked you, and you've kind of touched upon it a bit as we've spoken. But your two favorite Spurs players of all time are Gascoigne and Ginola. And obviously, when I asked you, you did say, "Oh, two is very hard to just settle on." But those are the names that you came out with. Why is that?
Why was it hard to only pick two, or why are those two my favorites?
Why are those two your favorite players of all time?
Look, David Ginola was everything as a football fan I want to see. He did things with the football that I can't see if I go down and watch a semi-pro game. He did things with a football that I don't see footballers now doing. Yeah. The outrageous skill, the trickery, the dribbling. He did things that made fans get off their seat. Right? Now, I've seen somebody in your chat, I ignored it, but I said, Ginola didn't defend to save his life. And I think that pretty much sums up 2025 as a football fan. No, but Ginola won you games on his own. And it's funny because we never say about defenders, but what they can't do that way. But with Ginola, it was, he doesn't work hard, he doesn't track back. David Ginola was one of the best players in Europe at the time. He won double player of the year playing for Tottenham. To put this into perspective, Hooks, right? If I look at the league table right now, Brentford are 11th. At the time that David Ginola won double player of the year, Spurs finished 11th. Imagine how good you'd have to be for a team that's in the bottom half and the rest of your peers in the league go, that guy. Right? That guy. Now, don't forget, this is the year that Man United won the treble. So think of the standard of footballers then. Ginola won double player of the year. He did things with a football that many can't. He was skillful, quick, two-footed, brilliant crossing, great goals. And he did it in an era where it wasn't like now. Now everyone has they say wingers, but they're wide forwards. Everyone now has one striker and then two wide forwards that score goals. Ginola was a left winger in a 4-4-2. So Ginola's game wasn't going to be getting 17, 18 goals a season. That's not what wingers did back in those days. But he was just mesmerizing. You'd go to Spurs and at the time it was, we haven't got a great team, but you know what? Oh, we're going to get to see Ginola today. We're going to get to see that guy do something. And, absolutely sensational footballer. And Gaza, Oh, by the way, Ginola was just sexy as well, just beautiful, great long hair, just lovely bloke. And Gaza was just, oh gosh, Gaza's. When we talk about generational footballers, fans use it so wrong now. Everyone now is generational at the age of 18. Everyone, oh my, he's generational. Oh my God, he scored 5 goals in 6 games. He's generational. Gaza was generational. Gaza was the once in a lifetime player that came along in that era, and you went, how good is this guy? Like, how good is it? He's strong, skillful, balanced, his passing, his work rate, his charisma, his personality. He was just, he was so good, like so good. And at that 1990 World Cup, I would say he was probably the best player in the world. He was ridiculous. And then he got that 18-month, 2-year injury, which he never recovered from properly. He came back. He played for Rangers and, played for Middlesbrough and Everton. But he couldn't quite hit those heights of before. But go and ask the Lazio fans what they think of Gaza from his time there. The Newcastle fans, the Spurs fans, England fans. Just a joy to watch. And we don't make players like that anymore. We make players now that just do the simple 5-yard pass here, 5-yard pass there. Are they a 6? Are they an 8? Yeah. I didn't care about any of that with Paul Gascoigne. He was just a brilliant central midfielder. And yeah, I'd love to have seen, like, those two together would have been sensational.
And so both of them in their prime. So Ginola in his prime, Gaza in his prime.
Yeah.
Which one of them would you bring back into this current Spurs team?
None of them. I wouldn't wish either of them to play for this god-awful manager. I wouldn't. He would absolutely ruin them. He wouldn't know how to get the best out of them. Can I change the question to, in their peak, who would I bring back into a Spurs team?
Okay, yeah.
No, I'll do it with this team. With this team and this manager, it would have to be Gaza because of the power, the strength, the work rate, and that we've got a crap midfield. But if it was another manager, I might be tempted to go for Ginola because he's the X factor in the forward areas. I would love to see in this era Ginola as one of those wide forwards, like in a Mo Salah position, right?
Yeah.
And this is where people don't forget, football was very different back then. Wingers' jobs back then was beat a man trying to get it across. It wasn't like it is now. It wasn't to do what Mo Salah, Gareth Bale, all these guys do. So, man, I just great players, great footballers.
Yeah. So maybe Poch's Spurs, you would bring back Ginola.
Correct.
Ange's Spurs, you bring back Gascoigne, which makes more sense because I mean, Ange wants you lot to do a lot of running up and down the field, and I can't imagine Ginola. I can't even imagine him. He'll probably have Ginola as a super sub, which I mean, I guess would be a sackable offense in itself. So, but hey, hopefully he'll be gone soon, and you'll be.
Ginola would have too big a personality for Ange to manage. Ange can't even manage James Maddison's personality, right? He's not going to manage Ginola's. just so people know, David Ginola, by the way, we were quite lucky to get him because when he was at Newcastle, and you know Newcastle were challenging for the title that year, and they blew was it a 12-point lead or 11-point, whatever it was they blew. Ginola was actually wanted by Barcelona. And Kevin Keegan's talked about this and said that he had to turn around to Gaza and say, I can't let you go because I've just sold Andy Cole to Man United. And if I sold you and Cole in one season, the fans would have lynched him. He said, I can't let him go. So we were lucky to get him after that because the management changed and he fell out with the management. So we were very lucky to get him. And we're never going to sign a player as good as that again. I truly believe it. I truly believe we won't. Truly believe it.
No, he was a very special, very, very special player. So look, final question from me. Bit of a two-part question. So the first part, maybe a bit easier than the second part. Can you imagine a world without Tottenham Hotspur?
I'd be a lot happier every weekend. No, of course not. No, it's been such a big part of my life, and now it's such a big part of my day job, right? So I can't. No.
Okay, and what does being a fan mean to you?
That's the question, isn't it? Being a fan to me probably means something different to others. Being a fan to me means being honest. Being a fan means, yeah, get behind your team. Yeah, support them. Yeah, want them to always do well, but be honest. And that's where a lot of people don't like my opinion, because they want me to be a better fan in terms of just say it blindly, just blinkers on. But look, I think being a fan is, it gives you a sense of purpose, doesn't it? Like, I've always grown up with that whole kind of opinion of, when you meet people, and like, especially when, more so back then than now, because women's football's got massive now. But, you meet another guy in a pub. I go, oh, who do you support, mate? Oh, I don't like football. I'd be like, what? Who? What do you watch? What do you do? What do you do on Saturday afternoon? Like, what do you do when Ford Super Sunday's on? I just don't know what's going on. So, look, it's being a fan. It gives you that. It's that extra something, isn't it? It's something that other people will never understand. Why do we enjoy supporting these men that run around on a bit of grass so much? It's. I think it's personal to each person. But for me, being a fan means being honest, loving my club, wanting to see the best for my club, and not wanting Ange Postecoglou at my club. Have I mentioned that? Sorry if I've mentioned that a few times. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh my God, no, that is amazing. No, you are amazing. Do you know what? I wish Ange stays at Tottenham for life, because I'm an Arsenal fan. But for the betterment of your club, even I acknowledge that he does have to leave. So hopefully you get your wish. Hopefully. But Sava, thank you for coming on. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have. I hope all the people that are in the chat enjoyed it, that watched it live, all the people that watch back on playback enjoy it, and all the people that listen in on the podcast enjoy it as well. Just remember, on your way out, make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you're heading over to both of Sava's channels and showing him some love with a subscribe. And also just go and like his last 5 to 10 videos, because why not? Let's spread the love where and when we can. And I will catch you next time. Peace.